Uncover the sinister secrets. 7 terrifying children you should never babysit. You've been warned. Sarah adjusted Jamie's coat as they stood outside the massive, old house, its windows like dark eyes staring her down. The flickering porch light danced in the cold evening air, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch out towards her. "I don't like it, Mom," Jamie whispered, clutching her hand like a lifeline. "What secrets are in there?" She hesitated, the weight of her economic struggle pressing on her like a heavy blanket. She needed this money, but the hairs on her neck bristled. There was something off about this place today. As she stepped inside, the scent of mildew filled her lungs. The faded wallpaper peeled in patches, ghosts of vibrant colors lost to time. Dark, unnerving portraits lined the walls, displaying an unsettling family, 7 children with wide, knowing smiles that felt too real, too alive. It was the kind of art that watched you back. Sarah shivered. "Let us go find some snacks," she chirped, trying to mask her unease for Jamie's sake. The child grinned, the innocent light in his eyes contrasting sharply with the darkness lurking within the house. As they rifled through the cupboards, laughter broke the tension. For a moment, Sarah remembered what happiness felt like, a rare jewel in her life of struggle, but then the lights began to flicker, casting eerie shadows that slithered across the room. A sudden, chilling draft swept through the house, extinguishing the warmth they'd created. Sarah's heart raced. "Did you feel that, Jamie?" "It's the spirits," he responded, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. He leaned in closer, his wide eyes alight with something unexplainable. "They live here. They have secrets." Sarah brushed his words aside, trying to hide her growing anxiety. "Just kid stories, sweetheart." But Jamie continued, his voice soft as if they were sharing secrets of a dangerous nature. "They all had the same smile, but they disappeared one by one. A witch took them." She cursed the house, Mom. As the night deepened, anxiety tightened around Sarah like a noose, every creak echoing louder in her ears. What had started as a simple babysitting job spiraled into a nightmare. Then the whispers began, soft breaths that seemed to resonate from within the walls. Laughter echoed, a dissonant song of children that raised the hair on her arms. She glanced at the portraits again. They had shifted slightly, the faces now even more haunting, their smiles eerie as if they were beckoning her closer, wanting to share the truth. Scratches in the walls looked like desperate hands reaching upward. Sarah's pulse quickened. As she clasped her hands together to suppress her trembling, the front door rattled sharply. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Sarah was about to bolt out the door, the parents returned. Their smiles were wide but their eyes remained cold, as if they were hiding something behind those forced grins. "You made it through the night," they exclaimed, but there was a palpable pressure in the air, as if the house itself held its breath. Jamie's hand squeezed hers tightly. He knew. "Did you have fun?" the mother asked, her voice dripping with something that sent a chill down Sarah's spine. "We played pretend," Jamie piped up, unaware of the growing tension. Sarah exchanged anxious glances with him, her heart now pounding in sync with a lingering threat that felt all too real. It hit her then, the legends about this neighborhood, the whispered warnings. They might not just be stories. As they stepped forward into the dim light of the porch, the walls seemed to echo her unease, whispering a warning she could not ignore. This wasn't just a babysitting job, it was a descent into a darker battle than she had anticipated. Would she and Jamie escape this night, or would they find themselves trapped in the ages-old curse of the witch that claimed so many before? The parents stepped inside, their laughter filling the air like a deceptive comfort, but Sarah felt hollow, as if the warmth from their smiles wasn't reaching her. Jamie remained glued to her side, his grip tightening. "Why don't you show Jamie his room?" his mother suggested, her voice too sweet syrupy, like a trap luring them in. Jamie looked up at Sarah with wide eyes, filled with wonder and fear, yearning for reassurance. "Come on, it'll be fun." She forced a smile, her heart still racing. Jamie hesitated but nodded, and they followed the parents up the narrow staircase that groaned beneath their weight as if resenting their presence. Shadows stretched in the corners, creeping closer with every step, and the dim light flickered as if battling something unseen. At the top, they paused outside a door that loomed larger than it should have. The mother pushed it open with a flourish, revealing a room filled with forgotten toys and dust motes dancing in the eerie glow. She leaned closer, whispering, "You can play here as long as you like, but stay away from the attic, and don't let the light go out." A strange chill swept through Sarah. Those words echoed in her mind, warning like a silken thread spun from a spider's web. "What's in the attic?" Jamie asked innocently, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "Just old things," the father answered too quickly. The mother smiled, but the grin didn't touch her eyes. "Let's check something else out," Sarah blurted out, her instincts screaming. She turned to Jamie, trying to sound light-hearted. "How about we find some games?" As they moved away, Sarah caught a glimpse of the portraits again. It felt as if the painted siblings watched her leave, their smiles morphing into malevolence. Their eyes seemed to glisten with knowing, as though they understood the secrets of the house of the curse that hung thick in the air. In the living room, Sarah searched for any board games but found only dusty books lined up like sentries. With every creak of the floorboards, the whispers returned, darting around them like mischievous phantoms. "Mom." Jamie's voice quivered, his eyes darting to the looming staircase. "Are they watching us?" "They're just pictures, honey," she reassured, though her voice trembled. "I'll just find something fun for us, okay?" But then the lights flickered once more, and an icy draft howled through the room. For a heartbeat, Sarah's heart stopped. In the far corner, she thought she saw a flicker, a child's shadow. No, not a shadow, but the faint outline of a figure, small and clear. It was one of the smiling children from the portrait. "Mom!" Jamie screamed, his little voice breaking through the cold dread that enveloped her. The apparition grinned, and then in a blink, it vanished, leaving behind a chill and the echo of laughter that sent shivers down her spine. "We need to leave," Sarah stammered, her eyes darting toward the door. Panic surged in her chest, her instincts screaming for action. They turned to go back to the stairs, but the parents were blocking the route, their faces twisted with an unsettling calm, casting twisted shadows in the dim light. "Where are you going so soon?" the mother asked, her tone syrupy sweet, but with a sharp edge. Sarah's stomach twisted with fear. "Just getting some fresh air," she forced out, but deep down she knew this wasn't just about air. The front door slammed shut. The chilling realization settled over her like a suffocating fog. Their smiles faded into expressions that held darkness, and the house itself seemed to close in around her. The only escape was through that forbidden attic, and she would have to risk everything to confront the truth behind the curse. As she grabbed Jamie's hand, she whispered, "Stay close. No matter what happens, don't let go." And that laughter echoed again, higher and closer, engulfing the room in a sinister reverberation. Sarah realized then the witch's curse held them, but she would not go quietly. Climbing the staircase toward the attic, shadows swirled. The door creaked ominously, enticing her with whispers of the secrets within. What awaited them in that darkened space, and would they discover the horrifying truth, or would they become just another part of the house's tragic history? The attic door loomed before Sarah, ancient and heavy. She could almost feel it breathe, as if it sensed her presence. The handle chilled her palm like ice. She hesitated, glancing back at Jamie. His face was pale, eyes wide, a plea for her to turn around echoing in the silent air. But the smile of the parents had turned into a grimace, their eyes gleamed with an unsettling light. Let us go, she urged, pulling Jamie closer. Every part of her screamed to run, but an unexplainable force drew her toward that door. She twisted the handle and pushed. A sharp groan erupted from the hinges as the door creaked open, revealing a void of darkness beyond. The dim slant of light from the stairwell was swallowed the moment she stepped inside. It felt like stepping into a different world, one devoid of warmth. Their footsteps echoed, swallowed by the thick silence. "What's up here?" Jamie whispered, inching closer. "Let us find out," she said, her voice trembling. With a deep breath, Sarah pulled out her phone, illuminating the darkness. It cast flickering shadows that danced along the walls, revealing cobwebs and old trunks piled high like skeletons. "Look!" Jamie pointed, his voice barely audible. In the corner, a small rocking chair creaked back and forth, though there was no breeze. Sarah's heart raced. She turned the light towards it, searching for the source. "Maybe it's just the wind," she muttered, though she didn't believe her own words. An electric shock of fear curled in her stomach as Jamie backed away. "Mom." His voice cracked. "I don't like this place." "Me neither," she whispered. But they couldn't turn back, not with the parents lurking below. They needed to know what they were up against. She felt it then, something colder than the air surrounding them in awareness. They were not alone. Shuffling sounds came from behind a stack of boxes. Sarah froze, breath held tight in her chest. "Stay right here," she said, but Jamie did not comply. Instead, he moved forward, a curious impulse overwhelming the fear. "You're not supposed to go near that," she urged, but he was already crouching down, peeking behind the boxes. "Sarah," his voice dropped to a whisper. "There's something here." Before she could reach him, he stumbled backward, eyes wide and terrified. Something darted between the boxes, a flash of movement, just out of sight. "Jamie! Come back!" she cried. Panic surged through her veins as she lunged for him. But he ducked away, drawn in by a sound, a soft giggle, ringing sweet and sinister. In an instant, shadows swarmed, cloaking the attic in a suffocating darkness. Sarah felt the walls closing in, the air thick with dread as the giggles multiplied, echoing from every corner. "Get away!" she shouted, pulling Jamie back with her. "Mom!" he screamed. The joy in those sounds twisted into something menacing, laughter turning to wails, echoing their own fear. The air shifted. The room felt alive, swirling with confusion and shadows, and she could feel the weight of countless eyes watching from the dark corners. "We have to go now," she urged, dragging Jamie toward the door, but suddenly the entrance to the stairwell vanished into a wall of black. No. They were trapped. The floor seemed to heave, as if the house was alive and angry. Somewhere, far off, a soft whimper began to cry out, slowly rising in pitch. It bled into the laughter, a sorrowful blend of childlike glee and agonizing despair. "What is happening?" Jamie whimpered. "I don't." Her voice choked in her throat. The shadows swarmed closer now, manifesting into vague shapes. Shapes with hollow eyes that reflected their own fear. With every step back, more forms took shape. Suddenly, there were too many of them. They faced the horde, and Sarah could feel the air turning electric, the laughter rising to a shrilling crescendo. Would they gather the courage to confront their tormentors, or would they succumb to the house's haunting embrace? And then, one figure stepped forward from the shadows, an eerie smile stretched wide across its face, revealing a mouth wider than any human's should ever be. "Welcome home," it announced, echoing in her ears. Sarah's heart raced. Whatever this place was, whoever these children were, it was too late to turn back now. What awaited them next? Was it freedom or an even worse darkness? The figure lingered at the edge of the light, its grin widening as it stepped closer. It was a child, but its movements were unsettling, jerky, like a puppet controlled by strings. Sarah felt her body stiffen, an instinctual reaction to the unnaturalness of what stood before them. Who are you?" Sarah managed to whisper, desperate to sound brave, even as her voice trembled. The figure tilted its head, a sickly smile revealing rows of jagged teeth, too many for its small mouth. "We play," it said, the voice a discordant melody that slithered up Sarah's spine. "We always need more players." "No!" Jamie screamed, his small body shaking next to her. He pulled at her sleeve, panic surging, a primal fear that ignited a fire in Sarah's gut. The giggles grew louder, echoing from the darkness. As if responding to an unspoken command, the shadows shifted, revealing dozens of pale faces, all grinning with that same chilling delight. Kids, but twisted and wrong. Their eyes, black voids, absorbed the light from Sarah's phone, swirling pools of nothingness. Sarah's heart thudded painfully against her chest. "Don't look at them, Jamie," she hissed, instinctively blocking his view. "Let us go." Jamie cried, stumbling back, trying to turn away. But the walls of the attic seemed to pulse, thrumming with energy as if the house breathed with life. It refused to let them escape, pushing them deeper into the abyss of shadows. "Where are your parents?" One childlike figure called out. Its voice echoed with mock sweetness. "They are playing too. They just can't see us yet." A sickening chill washed over Sarah. They're not playing," she said, gripping Jamie's hand tighter. "We have to find a way out." As if a siren had sounded, the giggles morphed into shrieks of laughter. The silhouettes swarmed around them, each movement seemingly choreographed in a grotesque dance of ecstasy. They bounced on their toes, eager, hungry. "Join us! Join us!" They chanted, circling in a wave, the air thickening with a malevolent energy that clawed at Sarah's sanity. "Please!" Jamie whimpered, his voice small, drowning in the sea of malice. "Make them stop." In that moment, Sarah's mind raced. Escape. They needed to escape. An idea sparked. She turned off her phone, plunging them into darkness. "Close your eyes," she shouted. "Don't look." The laughter faltered, and for a moment, the shadows hesitated, confused. The world around them transformed into a silence that was deafening. The absence of light offered a strange comfort, a flicker of hope. But then, a whisper slipped through the air, curling around them like smoke. "You can't hide where." Always hear a horrific crack of thunder echoed, shaking the attic's timber. Fear shot through Sarah as she felt the ground beneath her tremble. "Sarah? What is happening?" Jamie's voice trembled, and she could hear tears glisten against his cheeks. "We have to run, Jamie," she cried, pushing through the darkness. In a moment of instinct, she turned and stumbled toward where she believed the door had been, hoping against hope it hadn't vanished. But as she reached out, her palms collided with cold, solid air, and the laughter surged again, a tidal wave of torment rushing toward them. The figure with the wide mouth loomed near again, blocking their escape. "You can't leave yet," it wailed, and the other shadows shrieked in delight. The air filled with the stench of decay, and panic rattled through Sarah's bones. "Hold on to me, Jamie," she shouted, feeling her heart race. Was this the end? Were they meant to succumb to this dark fate, to become part of the twisted game forever? Then, as if the house itself was alive and listening, the walls shivered. Something deep within the house echoed with a sound like thunder, and a surge of energy coursed through the space. And then the laughter stopped. In the stillness, the children turned as one, their heads tilting at unnatural angles, waiting, watching. "What happens next?" came the softest whisper from the shadows, sending ice down her spine. Uncertainty gripped Sarah as she clutched Jamie. What twisted game were they really part of? The next moment lingered filled with dread, a pause before the inevitable chaos. What darkness awaited them in this house of torment? The silence hung heavy like a suffocating blanket. Sarah held her breath, each heartbeat echoing in her ears, drowning out the static tension around them. She could feel Jamie trembling, clutching her hand desperately, but the world outside their tiny bubble of terror felt like a distant memory. The children's head swayed rhythmically, an unsettling dance of excitement, and Sarah's instinct screamed for her to flee. There was no way forward, no way back. The shadows pressed in, cold and alive, as if the very walls conspired against them. "Why don't you play with us?" the closest child whispered, a voice high-pitched and sing-song, dripping with mockery. It stepped closer, and Sarah could see its face clearly now. A porcelain mask of innocence, twisted into a visage of delight. Its eyes were hollow, yet they gleamed with a malevolence that made her stomach churn. "No!" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking slightly. "We want to play." The laughter erupted again, a chiming cacophony that felt like shards of glass scraping against her mind. She covered her ears, trying to block out the sound, but it seeped in, etched into her very bones. The other figures surged towards her, their feet tapping rhythmically against the wooden floor. "Then you must play our game," they chorused, "or you'll be left out forever." She shuddered. Jamie, fear flooding his face, glanced up at her. "We have to get out, Sarah. We can't stay here." Another fitting of laughter rang out, twisting her heart with ice. "You can't leave. Not without joining us." The figures moved closer, so close that she could see the jagged teeth, the twisted grins, the way their mouths seemed far too large for their small heads. In that moment of weakness, when doubt threatened to rip through her resolve, Sarah's instincts kicked in. She couldn't let Jamie fall prey to this horror. With all her might, she yanked Jamie and turned in a blind panic, eyes closed, trusting her instincts to guide them. They pushed through the darkness, stumbling over unseen obstacles. The air was thick and suffocating, but she would not stop. Jamie was crying now, his small voice breaking through the insanity surrounding them. "Hold on, Jamie. We can't stop." She felt his hand slipping, but she tightened her grip, fear sharpening her focus. "Turn here." Jamie screamed, knowing the way better than she did. They veered to the left, and with every step, it felt like the walls were closing in, like they could be swallowed whole. The laughter rose into a frenzy behind them, sharp and insistent, penetrating even the deepest layers of her fear. Then, a pit formed in her stomach as the ground beneath her shook violently, a warning rumble from the dark heart of the house. "Join us," the voices hissed, now an ugly chorus that filled Sarah's ears with dread. Suddenly, the floor gave way beneath their feet. A trapdoor had opened, a gaping maw that begged them to fall into its depths. "Sarah!" Jamie screamed. She barely had time to process what was happening before they plummeted into darkness. A chilling rush of air enveloped them, spiraling into an abyss where just as suddenly, the light vanished, they landed on something soft. It didn't hurt, but as Sarah's eyes adjusted to the dim light, a panic swept over her. They were not alone. All around them sat the children, hundreds of them, not in shadows anymore, but in flesh and bone, their grinning mouths impossibly wide. "Welcome to the game," one of them whispered, spit glistening between its teeth. Gritting her teeth, Sarah felt the suffocating weight of dread settle in her chest. "What do you want from us?" There was a moment of silence, thick enough to slice through. Then they leaned in closer, their voices dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "We're always searching for players, and the game is not over yet." As Sarah's breath quickened, she realized something darker was at play. What were the stakes of this game? And what did they have to sacrifice to escape? "Let us begin, shall we?" The child who had spoken waved a hand dramatically, as if casting a spell. The others clapped their hands in delight, their laughter rising in a shrill crescendo that pierced through Sarah's mind. Each clap sounded like a gunshot, echoing in the void, and with every clap, the intensity of their glee sent shivers racing down her spine. "Games are always more fun with more players." Another child sang out, their smile wide, as if stretching to break their porcelain-like features. Shadows flickered around them, twisting and curling, almost as if they had a life of their own. "What do you want from us?" Sarah repeated, her voice trembling as she clutched Jamie's hand tighter. the warmth of his skin grounding her even as the world around them warped in a sickening display of grotesque joy. First, we must choose. The children leaned in, their faces drawing closer, their breath a foul mix of sweetness and something rotten. You must decide what you will sacrifice to join our game. Every player must give something or someone. Jamie's eyes widened, terror flooding his small features. Sarah, I don't want to play. He whimpered, squeezing her hand as if it might anchor him from the madness swirling around them, but Sarah felt the weight of those hollow eyes on her, judging and waiting. What do you mean? We're not sacrificing anyone. She shot back, her voice stronger than she felt. Oh, but you have to. The children chorused, their voices high and sticky sweet, weaving around her like a web. The game needs its players, and the stakes are high. Sarah's heart raced. They were unnerving, like forces of nature turned monstrous. The air grew colder, thick with dread, and she wondered what could they want from her. Choose wisely. A life for a life, the original child said, cocking its head in a way that reminded her of a puppet on strings, its soulless eyes gleaming with delight, something twisted in her gut. She felt the heat of her own breath, the primal instinct to protect Jamie burning like a candle against the dark. No. We refuse. We won't give you anything. The laughter stopped suddenly, leaving only the silence, heavy and foreboding. The children's faces twitched with anger, their wide smiles faltering as shadows flared. Then you choose nothing. And nothing is what you will become, they whispered, their voices sharp as glass. The room began to rumble. Dirt and debris fell like rain, and Sarah felt the walls vibrating as if they were alive. The ground beneath them began to tremble, cracks shooting across the surface like the fear racing through her veins. Run! Sarah shouted, feeling the urgency seep into her bones. But as she turned to escape, more children appeared, popping up from the shadows around them. The laughter returned, filling the air with a sickening joy that twisted around her like a noose. You can't run from the game. In that moment, amidst a flurry of confusion, Sarah realized what she had to do. She had to think quickly, play along, even if it meant pretending to sacrifice something. The game was rigged, but if there was a way to win even with the stakes so high, she had to find it. What if we join your game, but we create our own rules? She yelled out, half hopeful, half desperate. The room fell silent once more. The children paused, their eyes narrowing, curiosity mingled with suspicion. Create your own rules. One child echoed, tilting its head, pondering the idea. Yes. There must be a way to win. The tension hung in the air, thick and taut, like the moment before a storm. Very well, the child finally replied, a creepy smile creeping back into place. We will listen, but if you fail then you shall pay dearly. Sarah felt a shiver race down her spine. They were toying with her, dangling hope like a catch in a predator's trap. Why don't you tell us your rules? The children prompted, leaning in closer, an insatiable hunger in their eyes. Sarah opened her mouth, the words slipping from her lips. But as she spoke, she could feel darkness closing in again. Was she bargaining for their lives or sealing their fate, and if it came to a choice, what darkness was she truly willing to embrace? Okay, Sarah said, her voice quaking. For every player to join, we can trade knowledge. A ripple of intrigue flickered through the children. They leaned closer, eyes wide, shiny with anticipation. Knowledge? What kind? One asked, almost purring the words. Sarah's mind raced. What did they want to know? Secrets, she breathed, things we know about our world, things that could help us win. The children exchanged glances, their smiles stretching wider, a hint of something sinister curling at the corners. One secret for a player, the first child said, its voice dripping like honey. Who shall we start with? Panic surged through Sarah. She had to protect Jamie. Let us start with me. She shouted, desperate. I can share something no one knows. The children paused, their interest piqued. What will you share? the original child asked, a smirk dancing on its lips. Sarah's mind scrambled for a secret buried deep within her, something they would desire. I know rumor has it there's a place filled with treasures, hidden away. No adults believe it exists, but I've seen the signs. Laughter erupted, a cacophony that filled the space, mixing with the tremors in the ground. What kind of nonsense, they howled, their voices echoing like bats, circling in darkness, but then one child, dressed in tattered white, squinted at her. Is it true? Show us. No. I can tell you more, she stammered, feeling the heat rising in her cheeks. The children's expressions were a medley of anticipation and menace. Let us play. Another cried, giggling. Our game has just started. Suddenly, the shadows thickened, twisting grotesquely around them. The dust caught in the air transformed into shapes, silhouettes of monstrous entities lost in the dim light. The laughter ceased, replaced by a low, growling sound that vibrated in her chest. Realization hit Sarah like a barrel of cold water. This isn't just a game for you, is it? You're feeding off our fears. The children froze, expressions hardening, and for a fleeting second, a flicker of something human passed through their hollow eyes. We are always hungry, one said, slowly, deliberately. Their voices resonated in a chilling harmony, weaving in and out like whispers in the dark. Then Sarah hesitated, a plan formulating from the depths of her fear. Then I want to strike a deal. Let me go, and I promise to return with more secrets, real ones. Silence hung thick, punctuated only by the distant rumble of the earth beneath them. The children exchanged knowing looks, as if deliberating. What are you willing to sacrifice? Will you leave your little brother behind? No. Jamie cried, eyes wide with terror. I'm not leaving you, Sarah. Shoo. She hissed, desperation clawing at her throat. Just trust me. The shadows cackled, low and cynical. You want to play the game? Very well, your brother for your secrets. What shall it be? Time seemed to stretch as Sarah's heart pounded wildly. The magnitude of the choice clawed at her insides. Jamie's small hand trembled in hers and the world around them shifted, dark and ominous, pressing in. 2 minutes to decide, the children chimed, voices melding into a shrill chant that ignited fear deep within. Choose or lose. The countdown began, seconds slipping away like grains of sand. Jamie's voice faltered, filled with dread. Behind the children, something stirred in the shadows, a formless shape, watching with anticipation. Fear sank its teeth into Sarah. No, don't, she began, but the darkness was relentless, but as she stood there, she knew she was hanging by a thread. A choice was nearing, one that felt like it could seal their fate or condemn them to a darker abyss. What would Sarah be willing to risk? And if she chose wrong, what horrors awaited them in the depths of that twisted game? Sarah. Jamie's voice cut through the oppressive darkness, a desperate plea that chilled her bones. The whispers surrounded her, a chorus of distorted excitement. She could almost feel the shadows stretching out, reaching towards Jamie with their sinister hands. Time was running out. She could feel her heart racing, pounding against her ribs, the pressure of impending doom suffocating her. The children, their eyes gleaming with unnatural hunger, waited expectantly, a twisted hunger evident in their expressions. They craved secrets, but at what cost? 2 minutes. The echo of their chant filled the air, taunting her. In that moment, the world felt small, closing in around her, the weight of her decision looming heavy. Think, Sarah. She urged herself frantically. What can save Jamie? What will they take? She looked down at her brother. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear, and she couldn't bear the thought of losing him, of handing him over to whatever strange fate loomed in the shadows. Maybe I could know. Jamie interrupted, his voice trembling. You can't give me up. We'll find another way. The children laughed at their exchange, a sound both melodic and menacing, like chimes blown by a cold wind. I can give you more than just secrets. I know of others, Sarah blurted, desperation fueling her words. Others who can bring more to the game. Just let us go and I'll return. The original child leaned closer, its sharp, bony face glistening in the dim light. We don't want the others, Sarah. We want the best. We want you. Or it glanced at Jamie, your brother. Stop it. Sarah shouted, feeling the desperation clawing at her. You think it's a game? You think this is funny? You're monsters. The smirks faded, replaced by expressions of vague irritation. Regrettably, the game requires a sacrifice. Time runs thin. Choose. A wave of anger surged within her, quickly mingling with fear. I want tea. I refuse to choose. You're not in control here. The words tasted like ash on her tongue. Laughter erupted again, louder this time, reverberating through her bones. Very well, we will choose for you. Suddenly, the shadows crept closer, swirling around Jamie. In a heartbeat, darkness formed into something tangible, an effigy of a monstrous figure looming with claws poised, preparing to snatch her brother. Jamie's small body shivered, and Sarah's heart sank. Stop. I'll do it. Just stop. She screamed, feeling helpless as panic shot through her veins. The laughter died away, replaced by a cold stillness, as if even the shadows had paused to listen. What is your answer, Sarah? Will you leave him behind? Time felt like ice, each second dragging out as she wrestled with the decision, the pulse of fear thumping at her temples. Images flooded her mind. Jamie laughing, the sunshine glinting off his hair, their shared moments of innocence. No. I want to let you have him. She shouted defiantly, though she wished she had a plan, a way out, a glimmer of hope. Then, what will be your secret? Speak. Taking a breath, Sarah shifted her gaze to the flickering shadows, all those things she'd kept hidden, the vulnerabilities she had never shared. I know what you fear. She shouted suddenly, finding strength in her own terror. You feed on fear, but you are afraid of discovery, of being seen. You can't hide from the world forever. I can show you. Let us go. The children fell silent. Their expressions twisted, betrayal flickering in their hollow eyes. You think you can threaten us? Now it was her turn to watch as their eyes widened, calculating her words, absorbing the new turn in the game. But behind them, the shadows pulsed. Something else was awakening, something ancient and dreadful that seemed fed up with the games being played. Time has run out, Sarah. Suddenly, they lunged forward, shadows merging into one monstrous form, ready to drag them into the abyss. Sarah's vision blurred. No. Jamie. And then, in that electrifying instant, everything exploded into chaos as she became engulfed in darkness. Did her secret save her? Or would she and Jamie be left behind, lost forever? Within the clutches of fear. As the abyss consumed her, she couldn't shake the feeling that the darkest secrets were yet to be uncovered. As all sensation vanished, Sarah felt her body slip into a cold void. The darkness swallowed her whole, wrapping around her like a shroud. In that inky blackness, her senses faltered. But amidst that suffocating silence, a faint whisper crept into her mind, urging her to fight. She thought of Jamie. No. She couldn't lose him, not like this. Trying to focus, she forced herself to remember his face, the warmth of his hand in hers. Suddenly, a piercing light ignited in the abyss, illuminating their surroundings in an eerie glow. What was that? A voice echoed around her, vibrating through the emptiness. It was not just her imagination, there was something more here, a presence, an essence she could not see. Panic settled in as she blinked against the brilliance. Shadows retreated in the corners, revealing a crumbling playground. Rusted swings swayed gently, an empty seesaw balanced precariously. The ambience was haunting and surreal, echoing past laughter turned to silence. Sarah. Jamie's voice resounded off the decrepit landscape of twisted metal and shattered glass. Where are you? Jamie. She shouted, desperation driving her to move. Her feet found solid ground as she staggered, scanning the twisted playground. The grotesque laughter of the children echoed faintly, fading into whispers. But the fear was palpable, hanging in the thick air like fog. "Stay where you are," she yelled, heart pounding wildly. "I'm coming." As she ran, she heard the whispers swirl around her, tantalizing yet dreadful. They chanted her name in a sing-song rhythm, urging her deeper into the playground's unsettling embrace. Shadows darted past her peripheries, fleeting glimpses teasing her sanity. Panic clawed at her throat. "Don't let them take you, Sarah. Stay strong for me," Jamie shouted, his voice cracking in the distance. But the whispers grew louder, a cacophony that filled her mind with dread. Secrets, secrets, delicious secrets, they prodded at her, prying open the deepest corners of her mind. A chill raced down her spine, they wanted her hidden truths. "No!" she screamed. "You won't take me. You won't take him." Suddenly, she stumbled upon a peculiar sight: a rusted, iron gate embedded in the ground. It appeared to be heavily chained, a final barrier between her and whatever sinister realm lay beyond. Faint glow emanated from within, pulsating with a dark energy. Without thinking, Sarah grasped the chains and pulled. They refused to budge, laughter echoing around her as if mocking her efforts. Yet, beneath her desperation, a thought ignited. "My secret," she whispered, and the air grew heavy with expectation. The shadows shifted closer, their forms darkening as if realizing the gravity of her words. "It's not just fear I hold, I know of betrayal." Outside the gate, the laughter stilled. She could feel the weight of their gaze, anticipation crushing her. "You fear that which could expose your weakness. The world knows you as fear, but what if they discovered your origins, your true form?" A tangible silence enveloped her, thick with tension. Sarah's voice resonated in the void. "You're afraid of being seen by those you torment. Let Jamie go or I will tell everyone everything." A pause. The shadows writhed with fury, darkness turning against itself. "Enough." One shadow hissed. "Do not think you can deceive us, child. You won't survive the truth." The shadows shifted, enraged whispers erupting through the air. Dread coiled in her gut as she sensed the pendulum swing against her favor. Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled, and the rusted gate began to shake, chains rattling ominously. Her heart raced as she caught a glimpse of Jamie amid the chaos, pale, frightened, yet full of fight. "Sister. I believe in you." But belief could only take them so far. An ominous wind swept through, sending her reeling. Would she unleash the truth that could save them, or fall into the depths of despair? The shadows closed in around her, revealing a choice she never wanted to face. Trapped in a nightmare, Sarah felt the chilling weight of the unknown. A decision loomed, one that could seal their fate forever. In that heartbeat of dread, the real horrors began to surface as darkness loomed, ready to speak in secrets kept too long. Would they escape the playground? Or had they wandered too far into the abyss? A final shattering roar echoed through the air as the playground twisted in on itself, a spiral of turmoil that threatened to consume them once and for all. The ground rocked beneath Sarah as she braced herself against the chaos swirling around her. "I won't let you take him," she screamed, her voice cutting through the oppressive shadows that writhed closer, fueled by the collective rage of the spectral children. But even as she shouted, the chains around the rusted gate trembled violently, a portal to something much darker. Jamie's cries echoed as if the very fabric of their fear bound them. "Please don't. Sarah, please." Moments felt like hours as the thick air crackled with tension. Would she be stirring deeper into darkness, or could she find a thread of light amid this hell? "Enough." A chilling voice bellowed, echoing with a fury that rattled her bones. The shadows coalesced, confronting her as one mass. "You think you can fight us? You are just as weak as those who came before. You have nothing. You are nothing." That struck hard. But beneath her fear, an ember of defiance ignited. She took a shuddering breath, recalling sweet moments with Jamie, their laughter, shared joy. They were not nothing. No. We are more than you'll ever know. The children, fangs bared in chilling delight, slowed their approach, surprising Sarah as they absorbed her words. You think your past holds power. You fear us, yet you deny your own hidden truth. No. They were twisting her resolve again. I refuse to be just another lost player. A wave of rage surged through the swirling shadows. Choose, Sarah. Or lose everything. The laughter morphed into maddening shrieks, an unbearable cacophony that filled her mind, drowning her in despair. And then clarity. If it's a game you want, then let us play by my rules. The shadows hesitated, tilting their heads in eerie harmony, curiosity painted upon their inhuman expressions. What are your rules? One asked, the whispered echo feeding their insatiable appetite. I will trade you something, Sarah declared, raising her chin defiantly. But not my brother. I will give you my fears, my pain. I will face the darkest parts of myself, not just mine, but every secret worth knowing. The shadows recoiled collectively, their grin faltering. You seek to unbind yourself with your own truths. Your price is steep. In that moment, Sarah dove head first into the dark recesses of her mind. I will confront everything. I will speak to the pain of loss, the anger, the worry that clouds my choices. You think those will stamp out my light, but I'll expose them. The ground trembled again, but this time, not with dread. A surge of energy pulsed around her as if life itself recognized the weight of her conviction. Light flickered at the gate, a beacon of resistance. Very well, share your burdens, the looming figures sneered, their excitement palpable, a thirst for her vulnerability. Trembling but resolute, Sarah began. I feared being alone. I feared that I would let down those I loved. I feared they wouldn't understand me. I fear every day I might fail. Each confession formed a powerful light against the shadows, clawing for her essence. Her voice rose, magnifying with every burden released, shining against the suffocating blackness. But I realize now, I am not weak. I have survived. I am here, and I will protect my brother. With that last proclamation, the ground erupted like a dam breaking, pouring forth a radiance that had been suppressed within her. The shadows shrieked as they recoiled from her truth, a light so intense it ignited their twisted forms in a dazzling blaze. You think you can enough? Sarah shouted, and the light expanded, wrapping around Jamie, protecting him, pushing back against the dark. Suddenly, the rusted gate burst open, revealing a blinding light from beyond. Go! Sarah yelled, pulling Jamie as they dashed through the opening, leaving the chaos behind. With sheer force of will, the images of the playground began to dissolve, fading into nothing but echoes of screams against a backdrop of reclaiming light. They landed hard, gasping, the chill evaporating as warmth embraced them. They looked around, disoriented, yet free. The house loomed behind them, its malevolent presence flickering like an extinguished flame. Jamie clung to her, wide-eyed. Did we win? Tears streamed down Sarah's face, a relief washing over her. Yes, darling, we did. But deep within her, a knowing stirred. The battle was won, but the scars would always linger, turning into lessons that would shape her spirit. Hand in hand, they turned away from the dark house that had loomed over their terror, the whispers of fear receding into the past. Exhaling, Sarah found strength and hope. The truth, after all, was a force that could illuminate the darkest paths, and as they walked into the new dawn, a promise echoed in the air. They were home. And home would always be bathed in light. Now, because this conclusion matters, I need you to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will shake you to your core. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the content alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories, and everything you felt while reading this wild conclusion. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all ends. This is the moment to show your support. Do not wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of keeping the story alive through your engagement.